well.
Dr. Trin, let's spend a moment on healthcare. There was a push towards getting Asha workers, Anganwadi workers into the ambit of the Ayushman Bharat scheme. In your assessment, how effective has the scheme been so far, and what are you making of the manner in which the government is trying to tackle the healthcare sector?
So since the inception of the scheme, many states adopted the scheme the way it is. They were given options whether it was a trust or a plain straightforward by the center. And then many states evolved their own schemes and did not accept this scheme. So there's been a little bit of a mishmash. But overall, Ayushman has been a big savior of people who otherwise were out of the health net. So
there was expectation that this would be raised from 5 lakh to 10 lakh. How important is that, or do you think the current allocation is enough?
But that was not expected this time because this is on account.
Sure.
And what happens in July, we'll see. But the basic thing is the inclusion of our frontline health workers, because Ashas and Anganwadi workers are our real backbone on the ground. And if we are to get that service of Ayushman and inclusiveness into the health stream, we need those people to feel secure and actually be forward-looking in their own part. The next part is to upskill them, because they are truly our asset on the ground. And then for every village, for every 1,000 people, there's an Asha worker. So you know that that network is well established now. Ayushman is an excellent scheme. Its coverage is good. Some of the rates which are unrealistic have to be improved over time because of the fact that if the hospitals are going to lose money giving a service, then it's not going to be so popular or widespread. But when we talk about jobs, which we were talking about, for each bed created, there are 6 to 8 jobs created. So as we have said, and the government has also announced in this one, is the fact that more medical colleges, more hospitals have to be created, because we are half of what we should be to service a population of India's size. So if that happens, we double our size, we'll create 9 million more jobs. And the lowest paying job in the healthcare stream is at least 15 to 20,000 rupees. So they are instantly becoming participative in the economic movement, also taxpayers very quickly. So I think in all, if you look at it from every angle, creation of healthcare facilities will not only make a healthy India, but also help in a robust job creation and also help the economy as we move along.
Vaishali, the government laid a lot of emphasis on solar panels, on rooftops, with an aim to try and push renewable energy even further. Do you think, as far as policy is concerned, we're moving at the speed at which we should be, or do you think we're not moving as fast as we ought to?
Faster. So we're doing very well in our sector. I think this government, if we step back and see over the last decade, it's been a decade of action on the green front. When we entered, we are also about 10 plus years old. The cost of conventional was a multiple times that of clean. Now, clean energy is cheaper. It's a big step in the right direction. I think not only at the national level and the sub-national level has this government made progress, but at a global level, we have really been ahead of the curve as far as the energy transition related policies are concerned. This announcement, which is the rooftop announcement, I think takes this whole narrative to the grassroots, to the bottom of the pyramid, I think, which is critical. Muft Bijli for all. I think that is a real hook for people on the ground to get attracted to using clean energy. And I think that is critical, and it aligns with the Prime Minister's life mission, where it is sustainability at the individual level. So I think this government is very clear as far as our sector is concerned with respect to evolution of the structural reforms they have implemented. And I hope people who are here from the political community, fraternity would agree that there has not been much of a debate on clean energy and renewables in Parliament, and that has been a pretty uninterrupted space, creating disruption in the sector
That's because we
globally.
don't have a Trump-like character and he's not questioning
No,
first
no, let's
principles.
give credit to people for who they are.
Let's spend a moment talking about how the Indian economy is doing relative to the rest of the world. I want to put out data from the International Monetary Fund's macroeconomic outlook, which came out this week, which is revising India's growth prospects upwards from 6.3 to 6.7, projecting 6.5% growth for the next 2 years. Also, if you look at how the other economies are doing, including the advanced economies and peer-sized economies, Gaurav Vallabh, even you would need to agree that India is one of the biggest engines of global growth, 16% of global growth coming from the Indian economic engine at this moment.
No, I don't disagree on that. But we have to agree on one more thing, that 82 crore people of our country are dependent still on 5 kilo free ration. We have to talk about that. 60% of our population is dependent, when we are talking, on 5 kg free ration from government. So that is why we are saying this is a K-shaped recovery model.
So let me put that question to Jain Sin. I want to build on what Raghuram Rajan told me, Professor at Chicago Booth, in relation to this. He says that the actual growth that India requires is 9 to 10%. Now, just because the current handlers of the Indian economy can't figure out how to get growth above 6 to 7%, therefore they're trying to lower expectations. He says India is at the same curve in its economic journey where China was 20 years ago, and look at this period which China was growing. If we are growing at 7%, it's 2% less than where we ought to, and it's 2% less than what you promised you would deliver when you were in opposition.
No, that's entirely inaccurate, Rahul, because the fact is that despite very adverse global factors, we are still delivering more than 7% growth. If we had the kind of positive global economy that, for example, the UPA enjoyed for most of its tenure, we'd be growing at least 2% faster, maybe even at 9 or 10%. The problem is when professors become netas and start cherry-picking data to suit their particular purposes, they don't give the entire story, and we have to understand the entire story. The reality is, in a very adverse global environment, we are actually doing extraordinarily well. If the global environment was not in a situation where we have, war breaking out all over the planet.
No, and 20 years ago, hyper-globalization
and
was
all
the
of
norm.
that was a massive tailwind. All of those things are a headwind, and we are still doing better. There's another very important point to recognize, which is the following. The professors that have become netas should recognize that when the UPA came, the NDA-1 had left it an economy growing at 8%. They took that, they trashed the economy. We were in a situation where GDP growth was below 5%, inflation was running between 8 or 10%, current account deficit was huge, 3-4%, and we had the rupee in crisis. This is the economy they left us with. The economy that we have after 10 years has recovered all of that and at the same time positioned us to be a global leader. I think we have to recognize that entire story as opposed to just cherry-picking data here and there.
When professors become netas, that's point number one. He's laughing, wondering, मैं इस पे क्या बोलूं? Point number two, in the last years of the UPA government, to show that the fiscal situation was better than it actually is, the then Finance Minister, Mrs. Chidambaram, actually took borrowings off the budget and basically just to create an optical financial illusion. To their credit, they've been conservative and clean. They haven't done this kind of chickry-pokry.
Yeah, Rahul, I don't want to make any comment because we are in a very sincere debate and it's a budget. I don't want to make one-to-one debate with Mr. Sinha. But had I made any wrong statement, I'm just asking. Is 80 crore people are getting free ration, yes or no? Is it not the first symbol of
Isn't that a
K-shaped
demonstration
recovery?
of distress that they need this free ration?
I would say that that's a very misguided statement, because by providing that support, in effect, you're freeing up these people to spend money on health, on education, on consumption, and so on. It's not because they are hungry and dying of hunger that we are giving them those food grains. We are giving them the food grains because, first of all, we have a lot of surplus food grains. Second, we are making sure that malnutrition, which is a serious problem in India, is dealt with. And third, we are giving them the support so that they can invest in things like health and education, which is how we will power our growth going forward and get to the 9 or 10% that they want.
Just one comment, again with the data. Nothing personal with Mr. Sinha or BJP. He's saying they are providing support so that savings should increase. You know, our household saving is 5% of GDP right now, which was 19%. This is 50-year lowest. Now
It's also a global trend.
So we are at 50 years lowest household saving. Then this argument is not true, that we are providing that free ration so that they are saving. There is no saving happening in the economy.